Soccer under construction here on Morning Kickaround. We go to the Southwest now, where the Mesa City Council voted unanimously to approve the formation of the Palo District on Wednesday last week in an attempt to bring an MLS and NWSL team to Mesa, Arizona. For those who don't know, Mesa, Arizona, a suburb of Phoenix there. And according to the reports, Mesa City Council approved the formation of the business district during a 12-minute meeting without any residents in attendance. And before you ask, this has nothing to do with Rising Phoenix.
Yeah, so Phoenix Rising, which is interesting because we grabbed this from arizonasports.com, and their heading, as you can see in the screenshot, says Phoenix Rising FC. But this isn't Phoenix Rising FC. This is some other carrot, some other bait that has been put on the line and thrown out there for Phoenix, for Arizona, to get teams in the top divisions of men's and women's soccer in this country, which is fascinating. You know, this is not new. Like, we've seen this before. The mayor of Indianapolis tried to pull something off very much similar to this, which is like, I don't care what team we have here already. I don't care who owns that team. What I want is an MLS team. And so we as a city, we as a locality are going to work to create an environment that's going to attract MLS. We are putting up, again, we're throwing that bait in the water, and we're going to see if MLS starts to nibble at it. This is what this is, right? There's no other way to see this, because Mesa, and I have a map here. This is the distance of this site, the Fiesta Mall site, from where Phoenix Rising currently plays. I know this is not involving Phoenix Rising, but it just as a measure of sort of where it is. Now, it says 20 minutes by car. That's 13 miles. I cannot go 13 miles in 20 minutes in my area. So if that's the case,
as we said before the show, space and land has a totally different, it's on a different scale there.
No, I also did this. I don't know. I did this morning. Maybe it was super early. In Phoenix, and that's why the traffic was good. That's probably what it is. But anyway, it's a general idea, right? 13 miles. It is a suburb. It is not centrally located. I'm not super enthralled with this idea. Like, it's a dead mall. They have as you said, they have some plan with the district. Is actually listed, and I actually have the official proposal, the city council report in front of me. It's listed as a theme park district.
Yeah.
Theme park districts are tax levying public improvement districts that are corporate and political bodies with all the rights, powers, and immunities of a municipal corporation, except as may be modified by blah, 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 blah. So the city may establish one of these within the jurisdictional limits of the city. There were amendments to, I guess, some act in 2024 that allowed them to do that. So this is fairly recent that they've had the power to do this. The initial geographical boundaries of the theme park district must be established at formation using contiguous whole parcels of real estate. So they've got this dead mall. And they're like, what do we do with it? Well, let's use this amendment under this act to create this district. And this is just one of those, one of those tax haven kind of things. What do they call those? Like tax credit districts or something, money from various parts of the city kind of go in to help fund the redevelopment of a site. So you got, in this case, you do not have a current soccer interested party attached, but you do have a plot of land and a willing city, a willing partner in terms of how it might be financially beneficial to somebody. Now, there's also a line in there that says Freeman's comments is the mayor of Mesa. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Freeman is not the mayor of Mesa. John Giles is the mayor of Mesa, Arizona. I guess I'm sorry. This is very confusing. Two different mayors, one current and one former. I believe Freeman is current, and former Mesa mayor John Giles. There you go. So John Giles told KTAR earlier this year the city had started to look seriously into the possibility of bringing MLS and NWSL to the area, but that this is a multi-use stadium that could include soccer. Is the word could, is that a red flag for you? Or is this just, because again, it feels very much like, well, what can we do? Who can we attract? Phoenix has got a hockey team. Wait, do they? They moved.
No.
They don't have a hockey team. They're not going to get another hockey team because they went to Utah. We've got a football team. That's definitely not happening there. They play in Glendale. We've got a baseball team. They've got
Got a basketball.
we've got a basketball team. They've got their own arena. What can Mesa get? Mesa can get soccer. Soccer is the only thing they could get that's not already locked down in Phoenix. So I don't know, Rob. How do you feel about this?
Well, with the does the word possibly throw a red flag? Yes, it does, because I live in a city where there have been very well-heeled businessmen who want to acquire land that is either underserved or highly sought after properties, and then they get it, but the things that were optional, exciting, shiny things, kind of slither away when that project is realized. But to clarify your thing with the special tax district, apparently they get tax breaks and will be able to issue revenue bonds that will be paid off via revenue generated by the project. So basically they get cuts now to then pay it back later, and the district will be also able to levy sales tax on business activity in the district. And this is one of the parts that I want to line up, because this guy seems like the owner of this land in question kind of fits into the mold of what MLS wants to attract. The land is owned by Verde Investments, the real estate firm owned by the wealthiest individual in Arizona, Ernest Garcia II, who has an estimated net worth of $23.1 billion. So a gentleman of this sort of resources and has land does seem like the type of direction that Major League Soccer would lean towards.
He is his business is used cars, which is just too on the nose. Really, I'm sorry. That is he's heavily invested in Carvana, and he's the owner of a Drive Time. So if you're interested in where Ernest Garcia has made his money, it is in his used car investments. Look, I have no idea if he is a soccer guy. His parents, I guess he does have roots in Mexico. So, maybe there's some family stuff that has passed down. Whether or not that would make for a good soccer owner, again, just because he owns the land doesn't mean I guess he would own the soccer team. He could own the stadium or be involved in the development and not have anything to do with the soccer team. But obviously MLS wants billionaires of this level involved in MLS. I remember years ago talking to the people that owned Phoenix Rising, and they've got some high profile minority investors. Pete Wentz, who else is
Diplo?
involved?
That's the one that they really had as a headliner.
Yeah, Diplo's involved. I think
Drogba still involved there?
Drogba might still have a little tiny piece. I don't think he had a lot of investment, but I think he had some. It was the guy who actually owned the club was trying to remember his name, involved in some restaurant business, a restaurant you would remember if I could think. It was like doesn't matter. Forget that I brought that up.
Well,
go ahead.
I was going to say, either way, you asked me, do I like this, before I went into the details of the owner of the land. I would say no, not just off the cuff of it, with when there's like land deals and people with the B at the beginning of their net worth, and they're like kind of doing something outside of a team that's already there that is striving for Major League Soccer. They definitely were bidding for that, and then for someone to be like, oh, here's an opportunity, and kind of slide a deal under the door. I don't like that aspect, to answer your earlier question. But you were saying that you'd previously spoken to the Phoenix Rising.
They've gone through an ownership change since then. Vincier Capital now owns the club. There's some new people involved through that group from when they were originally launched. I was thinking of Berkey Bakai, who was the original main investor in Phoenix Rising. And I remember talking to people who work with that club and were around that club, who said, they were angling for MLS. Of course they were, right? That initially the idea was launched, Phoenix Rising. And remember, they've gone through like a couple of erector set stadiums around Phoenix over the years, but invest in a lower division team, show that there's a market, attract MLS. And then eventually they kind of came to a point, based on my discussions, that they were like, you know what, MLS is a little too controlling. We have to give up our IP rights on our brand and everything. We're not super enthusiastic about the way MLS operates. Now, that could have been, oh, you don't want us? Well, we don't want you either. Like it could have been like that, because I don't think Phoenix was getting the heat that they really thought they should be getting from Major League Soccer. But one thing you brought up before the show is, if this works, if this idea to attract an MLS team to Mesa, Arizona works, does that mean the end of Phoenix Rising? Is that the natural next thing that happens, right? We saw it in San Diego. We saw it in St. Louis. Would that mean the end of an established soccer club in American soccer? Because it's one thing for a club to take a big swing and fall flat on their face and have to fold, although sometimes it's about bad ownership. It's one thing for USL to say, yeah, go start a club. We're not going to gatekeep. We're not going to prevent you from doing that. And if you fail, so what? We'll start again. It's different when a club's like, you know what? We can't compete in our market now because the big bad Walmart of soccer has come to town and is now dragging away all of our fans, or dragging away all the soccer interest. And I think it's really hard for a lot of these clubs to think, we're always going to be a team that draws 6,000 or 7,000 at most. Like, that's just who we are now. Even if we were always that before in a big city like Phoenix, we're definitely that now because we have to compete for an MLS team in a market. I don't know that lots of people love that idea. So what they do instead is say, well, I'll just fold up shop, because this is a money losing proposition anyway. In professional soccer in general, here abroad, is not a money making proposition. The money is in the collective. The money is in the whole thing coming together and lifting up your franchise value and things like that. So I don't know.
Put another pencil dot on the map for maybe another soccer stadium in the works for us to follow, but we'll see where this story goes, and if we find anything more, or if anything progresses outside of there just being a tax district that happened to reference a soccer stadium in it. Thank you to the Ultras. Some fun comments in the mix there. We got some suggestions for alternative sports in Arizona. I saw championship mud wrestling. Here's cornhole. So some creative alternatives, and then Andy coming in here with maybe some cricket as well. So some fun suggestions of what else they could do. What else could they do?
Yeah, there's some new wacky sports out there. They're trying. They're trying to do some things. I still want to know where that Mark Cuban futsal league is. What's going on with that, guys? And we're only like 5 or 6 years after that was announced as possibly anyway.
Yeah, I saw some people, and shout out to the MK Ultras. Thank you to Ryan for donating 5 memberships today. One of the perks of your membership is access to the Morning Kickaround Discord server. In there, I saw some members talking about was that the new sport where there's 3 soccer goals and there's 3 teams all playing at the same time. That's a whole new thing that could be added in there. And then welcome aboard everyone who accepted those gift memberships as well. Today really was, obviously first half MLS heavy, talking about the MLS Cup final. Second half talking about the landscape of American soccer and the instability or possibilities that are on the future. And then Wednesday, we'll have a guest coming on. There's an announcement coming out today or tomorrow about something happening in the lower levels. That'll be interesting. We have a guest on Wednesday to give us more detail on that. I'm sure those folks interested in the grassroots and lower levels of soccer will want to tune in to that on Wednesday.
Can I hype up? And we are moving forward. We have big plans. Can I hype up the Countdown to Kickoff series that we launched with the New York Cosmos last week? That was initially our first episode was an interview with Eric Stover. The man runs the New York Cosmos. He had some interesting things to say about their jersey selection, their design process, some other things that they've done. They were doing stuff in the community around Thanksgiving, which was good to talk about. But we have big plans with New York Cosmos, and we should be launching other clubs' countdown to kickoff. So while we're talking about maybe some clubs having to delay, we're talking about some problems in terms of club operation. We've got some partners on board with Morning Kickaround that are anxious to tell their stories as they move towards their first ever game.
Yeah, exciting times. It's not all bad news. There are some positive stories to discuss, and we're excited to bring those to you on Countdown to Kickoff and across our segments on Morning Kickaround. So until we come back on Wednesday, everybody, enjoy your soccer.